Hey everybody, this is Mike Legeros at Legeros Fireline. Today is September 21st, 2025. Time for another week in review. September 14th. This is a picture of an index card file that we found at Wake New Hope Fire Department. We were there a week ago Saturday doing research, helping them with an upcoming event that's planned for November, where they're going to have a reunion, some recognition, a celebration, and they've asked me to help put together some history for them. This is a file of index cards that was labeled for Tanker 8. It dates back to the 60s, perhaps the 70s, and it has both typed and handwritten notes on how to get to a particular street using driving directions from the old fire station. September 14th, shared a posting from Mebane in Alamance County, where they have started the pre-construction work on their new tractor-drawn aerial ladder. Looking forward to hearing about that. September 14th, a vintage photo from David Raynor. This was a film print that we scanned of High Point Police Department's old tactical team bus, labeled for SWAT, though as noted in the comments, they never actually called themselves that. I do like the lightning bolt logos on the side and the front of that Thomas built bus. September 14th, photos from a week ago Saturday at a house fire in Garner, showing just some people photos to start. We were already south side, having finished the muster at the annual Raleigh Fire Museum monthly opening, and we were down there probably 20 minutes or so after the first unit arrived. September 14th, also south side, a picture, or rather some video from the Raleigh Fire Department Training Center. This is their Class A burn building that has recently been upfit and expanded. It now has 2 stories. We flew our drone. It's a DJI Air 3. And what we do when we fly to do video for the best focal length is I like to use my 3x optical zoom, which means I have to get quite a bit farther away, and the automated circular path is much wider. But I think it gives a better composition than the 1x optical zoom, which is much more of a wide, a little bit of a distorted wide view. And that's ladder 12 was down at the training center that afternoon. They were doing some forcible entry training. September 15th, this is some photos out of Ashe County in western North Carolina of a church, a historic church that caught fire, called the Grassy Creek United Methodist Church, also cited as the Grassy Creek Community Church. That fire occurred Sunday morning. You see pictures shared by the fire department and the tanker shuttle that provided the water supply. September 15th, sharing an announcement from the town of Zebulon and Wake County. Groundbreaking for the new joint Zebulon Fire and EMS station. This huge facility, 24,000 square feet, will replace the town's fire station, which is downtown and maybe a quarter of this size. It will also provide facilities for Wake County EMS. I believe they are located currently next to the fire station in the old quarters of Zebulon Rescue, later used by Eastern Wake EMS, if memory serves. September 15th, this is a neat magazine cover and profile from Main and Broad. It is a new magazine out of Holly Springs in southwestern Wake County, a feature on the town's female firefighters. September 15th, CBS 17 sharing news that county commissioners in Wake County here in our county recently approved construction on 2 new public safety facilities. One will be Northern Wake Fire Department and Wake County EMS up in the Sandy Hook area, far, far northwest corner of Wake County. The other is a new Wake County EMS facility near 5 Points in Raleigh. and it will be a replacement station for the station on Noble Road, which opened in 1978. A smaller facility and one of the original stations back when Wake County EMS started operating just a couple years earlier. September 15th, from Moore County, this is an undated photo of an unidentified rescue squad or squads at a disaster drill. It appeared in the Pilot newspaper out of Pinehurst, I believe, or out of Southern Pines, not sure. This picture was printed in February of 1976, probably taken earlier. And what I like to do, and you all have maybe figured this out, is search old newspaper sources for photos of rescue squads in action, old vintage emergency vehicles, and I just use keyword searches. So over at Digital North Carolina newspapers as well as newspapers.com, I just do searches on, words like rescue squad, crash truck, fire engine, new fire truck, and so on. And then I share them here. September 16th, sharing a story from CBS 17 out of Cumberland County, where the Cumberland County Fire Chiefs Association has recommended that the merger of the Cumberland County 911 Center and the City of Fayetteville 911 Center. September 16th, pictures from the recent muster at the Raleigh Fire Museum down at the Raleigh Fire Department Training Center. That was a week ago Saturday. And in this set, pictures of mine where I was taking detail shots of warning devices and other details of some of the participating antiques. September 16th, this is a postcard photo that I acquired. Greenville Rescue 1, and this is back when the rescue squad was an independent agency. They date back to, I believe it's 1939, and this posting, we get into a bit of history of the squad, and readers who were members back in the day had some details. And then in, I believe it's the early 80s, the rescue squad was absorbed into the fire department, and today it's Greenville Fire and EMS. I believe they're the largest fire-based EMS agency in our state. September 16th, Raleigh Downtown shared these photos of a high-angle rescue that happened the day before and other emergencies. All right, here's what happened at this one. So this is the Wachovia Tower, Wachovia Bank Building. At least that's the older name. It's now called the Wells Fargo Capital Center on Fayetteville Street. That's the Salisbury Street side. And this incident started as a power outage, which resulted in a fire alarm activation. And that sent Engine 13 and Ladder 1 to the scene. And then there was a reported electrocution, which sent Engine 6 to the same location. And Engine 6 said, hey, we got this call. Engine 13 sent one of their personnel to locate the patient. And then Engine 6 learned that there were window washers that were stranded on the 28th floor on a scaffolding, a hoist machine. So Engine 6 officer called for a technical rescue high angle response, which added a bunch of other units. And there was one elevator that was working going up to the 13th floor. So firefighters had to climb an additional 15 floors to reach the location of the stranded scaffold. There was no rope rescues that were required. They were able to remove a window. And then after that, they provided additional support for at least one elevator rescue, building occupants that were stranded in an elevator and assisting anyone else who were on upper floors who needed to come down the stairs. September 16th, took this video on District Drive of an escort of the body of Wake County EMS paramedic Chris Girardi, who passed away the week before. He died at home unexpectedly, and here they're taking his body from the state medical examiner's office to the funeral home in downtown Raleigh. September 16th, Forsyth County, a 2-alarm fire at a strip mall in the town of Clemens with numerous additional departments from Forsyth County Fire Department to Winston-Salem. And we also compiled the radio traffic for this incident. I believe there were 3 businesses that suffered heavy damage. September 16th, history hit here from Wake County, where we learned of a new airport that we'd never heard of, Shelba Airport down in Holly Springs. And it was the location of Aero Sport Incorporated, which built do-it-yourself kit-built aircraft. And it was a grass airstrip. And the company president was killed in the crash of one of those planes within a year or two. The airport remained operational for maybe a couple decades. It has since been demolished, and there's a residential subdivision in the area. Rather than compile our own research notes on this one, we instead took some clippings and things found on Google, put them out on a Google Drive, and then punted them over to my friend Paul Freeman over at the Little Known Airports and Abandoned Airfields website, which is the greatest website ever. You can find it on Google. And he, over the years, has mapped out and documented hundreds of old airfields around our country. And whenever I'm traveling, we're traveling, I sometimes like to look up and see if I can find some surviving evidence of an old airstrip, and I'll send him the photos. And here is what we learned about this one, which was really an exciting thing to learn about. And this, by the way, we learned about because of a reader comment from an earlier posting earlier in the week, where we had Holly Springs and their old FMC Kenworth pumper. And we learned in that thread that part of the reason for acquiring the aircraft is the FAA gave them input about fire protection at the nearby airport, which of course made me go, wait, what? There was an airport in Holly Springs? Well, now you know, as I know. September 17th, back to Johnston County, and 3 old photos. So the town of Benson has been posting on Facebook pictures from Mule Days back in the 80s, and these are slide scans from a local photographer, historian. Here we have Meadow, Four Oaks, and Benson engines from back in the day, and readers have dug into this and helped identify and provide information about them. September 17th, a mystery photo. We love these. Keep our readers on their toes. Quickly solved, easily figured out. This is the old New Hanover Volunteer Rescue Squad down in Wilmington. This picture's on Carolina Beach Road. And as at least one reader noted, the squad later merged with Ogden Rescue Squad to become New Hanover Ogden Rescue Squad. September 17th, we shared a video from the Winston-Salem Fire Department. I believe this is a video, yes. And it's crews operating on the roof of the strip mall at the fire in Clemens. September 17th, this photo started making the rounds from Randolph County, that's East Side Fire Department near Asheboro, an older Pierce top mount engine that caught fire. And we don't really have any incident details on this. It's just some folks have captured pictures, but it has provided quite a bit of comments and commentary in the posting. September 17th, also that day, a major fire in Asheville at a recycling facility with a metal scrap pile. Water supply issues there, had to bring in tanker shuttles, among other suppression strategies. A lot of photos from Asheville Fire Department, a lot of video, and then we also compiled the radio traffic and posted it to our page. September 18th, and a story out of Raleigh, the Assistant Chief of Professional Development was interviewed on camera about the growing need that the city of Raleigh has for firefighters. We're starting a couple new fire academies next spring, a long and a short academy. Those will fill existing positions. We have some discussion in the comments about, well, are they talking about replacement positions? Are there expansion positions and so forth? And you can dig in and read about that. September 18th, it's almost fair time. We're a month away from the North Carolina State Fair. And here's a bit of history remembering the old State Fair Fire Brigade. So these folks, this started back in the 60s, and it was Raleigh firefighters, notably more seasoned firefighters, older guys, who would be on site for the duration of the fair, and they would provide rapid fire response with one, later two engines they had on loan, typically from a dealer. They also had some golf carts. They would have a travel home or an RV that they stayed in, and this continued on until the 2000s, as memory serves, and then protection taken over on contract by Western Wake Fire Rescue. And that is a picture of the FMC Kenworth engine we talked about a few minutes ago that the later served the town of Holly Springs. There it was a demonstrator. This is from Friday, September 19th, Macon County, and a view of the private plane crash near the airport. 3 souls on board, deceased at the scene. We also compiled the radio traffic for that incident. Friday, the 19th, we posted these pictures from the Raleigh Fire Department Training Center. The main classroom building has been undergoing renovations and it's getting close to finished. Also, breaking news here, that's the old comms truck, the old Task Force 8 comms truck. They've taken off the old box and they're going to be putting a dump flatbed on it, and it will be used to haul debris and other materials around the lower drill pad there at the training center. Friday the 19th, more from Macon County. That is the fire chief of Burnington. That's the fire chief of the local fire department. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Addressing the Board of County Commissioners on September 9th. They had concerns about the fire department and issues related to recent inspections. This meeting, really good viewing, and the fire chief going through just a great snapshot of what's entailed with volunteer community fire protection, some of the challenges and his perspectives. And we included a link. This is a screen grab. The commissioners that day decided to cease their contract with that department and begin contracting with a nearby department for fire protection. And then some of the members of BIFD, there you go, have now moved over and volunteered with the second department. Also, on Friday the 19th, September 19th, we shared a picture from the 5-alarm warehouse building fire in Brooklyn. The building was an artist cooperative, so there were, hundreds, a couple hundred artists' spaces that were used. The building was unoccupied at the time of the fire. Here we're seeing the FDNY Fireboat Marine 1, it's also called the 343, and it can pump up to 50,000 gallons of water. There are videos you can find of water just flowing through the building. I believe this might be the most powerful fireboat in the country. Although readers, you can check me on that one. Also, from September 19th, 2025, photos from earlier in the week. That's Raleigh's new ladder truck, new ladder 14. It's a Pierce mid-mount. It's a twin to ladder 22, which was delivered 2 years ago. This one's not quite in service, and they were doing aerial ops training this week. Also, on September 19th, a posting about upcoming Raleigh replacement fire station 15. I noticed that the construction schedule had been listed on the official webpage, and it's due for completion in 2028. And there are the preliminary drawings of the site and the building, and then we have some reader discussion on the subjects, including 2-story fire stations. Do they have poles? And perspectives and opinions on the length of time it's taken for the design process and planned construction process. Also, from September 19th, we shared this story from WUNC. with a number of reader comments and reactions. A state lawmaker in the House has uh, had a bill passed that would initiate a study of issues with the volunteer fire service in our state, because here in North Carolina, about 70% of our firefighters are volunteer members, and it's harder and harder to get volunteers to to recruit volunteers and retain volunteers. And this state lawmaker wants to do a study to see, can something be done at the state level? Can you throw money at it? And I offered one perspective. A reader said, why even spend money on a study? Just ask me, I'll tell you. And I offer that when we say commission a study, you're doing that exact thing, which is you're going to ask people what they think. Because if I just say, hey, I'll tell you, I'll answer your questions. Well, you have to ask somebody to take on the project of asking questions. Then you have to ask somebody to manage that project, collect the answers, put them in a format that can be analyzed, perform the analysis, make recommendations, and sure, you can get a group of people to volunteer to do that work. But as the saying goes, you get what you pay for, and you may get a better bang for your proverbial buck if you assign that work to people on the payroll or an independent organization that you commission. That's my 2 cents. Spend it at will. Also, from September 19th, here's radio traffic from the memorial service for Wake County EMS paramedic Chris Girardi. Here's his last call. It's just about 30 seconds of radio traffic. At the memorial service, the radio was brought up on stage, and this was played at the end of the service. Also, on September 19th, here's a neat new unit that WGK Public Safety Images photographed in Charlotte. They've put a mobile lab into service. Hazmat Field Screening Unit 34, built by LDV on a Ford chassis. In the posting, we walk through and have a list of all the other hazmat rigs on the Charlotte Fire Department fleet. Readers chime in on how this unit will be used. That's a really neat addition to the Queen City Fire Department. And that's it. There you have it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.